Today on Inquirer, Ombudsman suspends 33 government officials over Pharmally mess. Information obtained from suspected violators of anti-terror law now fall under exceptions to the right to access information. President Bongbong Marcos says Philippines in the midst of water crisis, signs executive order creating the Water Resource Management Office. And magnitude 5.6 earthquake jolts the Lupiri Island in Cagayan. Good evening. The Office of the Ombudsman suspends 33 government officials for their involvement in the graft-tainted purchases of the government's pandemic supplies in 2020 and 2021. Ombudsman Samuel Martires meted out a 6-month suspension order on overall Deputy Ombudsman Warren Rex Liong following a complaint filed by Senator Risa Ontiveros and former Senator Richard Gordon. Liong was formerly the Department of Budget and Management Procurement Service Procurement Group Director. Also suspended without pay were Health Assistant Secretary Nestor Santiago Jr. and former Budget Undersecretary Lloyd Christopher Lau, who headed the PSDBM when Pharmally secured the multi-billion peso contracts. In an order dated March 20, Martires says they found compelling reasons to place the respondents under preventive suspension pending investigation of the instant case. In a statement issued through his lawyer Rafael Vicente R. Calinisan, Liong insists that he has no involvement in the transaction. Liong denies earning even a single peso from the transaction and that he acted in accordance with the Bayanihan to Heal as One Act.
Sana hindi, pero ang realidad, may order na eh. Natanggap niya yung order, pero kung tutusin, dapat kasama sa order ng preventive suspension yung complaint.
What is the next step from your end?
We will study the complaint that we have yet to receive. Inosente po ang Ombudsman Liong natin. Ni piso wala po siya kinita dito. Kaya po niyang sabihin ito sa inyong lahat.
To recall, the Senate conducted an inquiry 2 years ago into the graft-tainted supply contracts awarded to Pharmally Pharmaceutical Corporation. The startup company with a paid-up capital of only 625,000 pesos bagged more than 11.5 billion pesos worth of government healthcare supply contracts at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. A memorandum released by Malacañang says information obtained from suspected violators of anti-terror law will now fall under exceptions to the right to access information. The new exception was contained in Memorandum Circular Number 15, signed by Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin last March 17, updating Executive Order Number 2 issued during the time of former President Rodrigo Duterte. The memorandum states that the records of surveillance of suspects and interception and recording of communications acquired by law enforcement agents or military personnel in relation to anti-terrorism law of 2020 are now exempted to the right of access to information. Duterte signed Executive Order Number 2 on July 23, 2016 to promote accountability and set the guidelines for requesting and releasing information from offices under the executive branch. Also signed by Duterte in 2020, the anti-terror law criminalizes incitement of terrorism by means of speeches, proclamations, writings, emblems, banners, or other representations. A United States report notes that there have been only 3 prosecutions and convictions for extrajudicial killings in the Philippines in connection to the country's campaign against illegal drugs since 2016. Published by the United States on its Department of State website, the 2022 Country Reports on Human Rights Practices shows that the Philippine National Police were recorded to commit arbitrary or unlawful killings relating to the anti-drug operations. According to the report, there were no convictions for extrajudicial killings from January to October 2022. It also points out that there were only 3 convictions since the start of the drug war in 2016. The report also notes that impunity was a significant problem in the security forces, particularly in the PNP. Citing data, the report says that 321 police officers were administratively charged with killings during anti-drug stings from January to July 2022. Of these, 233 personnel were referred to the PNP Disciplinary Authority. 4 were suspended, while 229 were absolved. In 2016, then-President Rodrigo Duterte launched an anti-illegal drug campaign in the country. Government data shows that there are over 6,000 drug war fatalities as of April 2022. But human rights organizations' figures are significantly higher at over 20,000. The Philippines and China hold its first physical foreign ministry consultations in Manila since the COVID-19 pandemic. During the 23rd Philippines-China Foreign Ministry consultations, Foreign Affairs Undersecretary for Bilateral Relations and ASEAN Affairs, Maria Teresa Lazaro, said that the Philippines is looking forward to using the consultations as an avenue to implement the consensus between Philippine President Bongbong Marcos and Chinese President Xi Jinping during the former state visit last January.
Through these consultations, the foreign ministry consultations, we hope to translate the outcomes of the state visit into concrete and high-impact engagements that are mutually beneficial for our two countries and peoples.
For its part, China expressed its commitment to a development philosophy that is people-centered and focused on promoting high-quality development. Chinese Vice Foreign Minister Sun Weidong said that they will give opportunities across the globe, especially its adjacent nations.
As neighboring developing countries, China and the Philippines need to work together for our respective modernization and our respective development and rejuvenation.
Next on Inquirer Today, 93% of Filipinos felt impact of climate change, according to latest SWS survey. President Bongbong Marcos says Philippines in the midst of water crisis, signs executive order creating the Water Resource Management Office. And magnitude 5.6 earthquake jolts the Lupiri Island in Cagayan. This Inquirer Today will be back shortly.
Immigration rant for my Israel and Palestine trip. The immigration officer kept on asking me irrelevant questions. If my parents were separated or together. Number 2, if I have my yearbook with me.
On March 1, content creator and freelancer Jammed Anter's immigration rant on TikTok went viral.
Story time. I went to Israel to spend Christmas alone last December. It was supposed to be at December 21. A week before that, I booked my flight, priced around 19,000. On the day of my flight, which was supposed to be at 11 a.m., I started lining up in the immigration at around 7:30 or before 8. The line was so long. Since I'm a solo traveler, but it's not my first time traveling solo. Of course, the immigration officer kept asking questions about my flights, my previous flights, my reason for traveling, which was supposed to be just spending Christmas. And then I need to go through that office, their head office, whatever, and I'll be asked for more questions. So I was brought to that immigration office somewhere in Terminal 1, and there was like a long line, and I wasn't asked right away, so I waited like more than 30 minutes or almost an hour for my turn. And then the immigration officer kept on asking me irrelevant questions that I don't think is necessary for my travel, which is number 1, if my parents were separated or together. Number 2, if I have my yearbook with me. I told the officer, like, hey, I graduated college 10 years ago. Why would I even bring a yearbook in my travel? Like, who brings yearbook going to Israel? Who brings yearbook in their travel? He was asking about if I bring my graduation photo. Sir, I graduated 10 years ago. Why would I even bring all those stuff with me? I recall that I have a wacky photo of me and my toga. And then I showed it to him, and he said, okay, that's fine. Other more irrelevant questions, like who booked my flight, and I told him that I was the one who booked my flight. That he wants me to show the exact email, although I have already printed copy of my booking for the flight. And then he was the one browsing my email to check if I really booked my flight. And he was asking what I do here in Siargao. So I had to explain in detail in an essay form what oodle means. The airport ground staff keep going back to his office and asking that I needed to go to the boarding gate because it's my final call. I'm the only passenger left for that flight.
After the hassle that Cham went through, she missed her flight. She had to rebook her flight the next day, which cost her another 27,000 pesos.
I haven't ate for the next 24 hours because I was too stressed. But long story short, I booked another flight for the next day. Terminal 3, there was no problem at all. The process was smooth in Terminal 3 and that's it. So thank you, immigration officer. I missed my flight. I have to pay for it and you don't have any accountability. Cheers to that.
On March 16, the Bureau of Immigration released a statement apologizing to Cham and other Filipino passengers for the inconvenience. BI, however, sought travelers' consideration and understanding for the strict process, given the alarming cases of human trafficking or illegal recruitment that it has observed recently. BI says it has reminded its personnel to conduct their inspections professionally and in an efficient manner.
To be honest, I'm still very pissed of the immigration until now. Even if nag-release na sila ng statement, it was never ever my intention to discourage future travelers. I hope it will serve as a voice in hopes for a change in the inefficient system of the immigration.
A social weather station survey reveals that an overwhelming 93% of adult Filipinos said they'd have been personally affected by climate change in the last 3 years. According to the survey, in particular, 17% of those surveyed felt a severe impact, 52% reported a moderate impact, while 24% said they experienced little impact. The remaining respondents reported no effect. Despite these findings, the survey also suggests that most Filipinos remain hopeful in the quest to mitigate climate change. 88% agreed that they can do something to reduce the risks resulting from climate change. Meanwhile, 10% were undecided and 3% disagree with the statement. This survey was conducted from December 10 to 14, 2022, using face-to-face interviews of 1,200 adults nationwide. President Bongbong Marcos says there is a water crisis in the Philippines as he announces the creation of Water Resource Management Office. During the opening of the 6th edition of the Water Philippines Conference and Exposition, Marcos says the Philippines should look at other countries' water management to address the water supply problem.
These are the kinds of thinking that we have to apply to the Philippines because of the crisis that we are facing. And how debilitating it will be to the entire economy, to the entire society, if our water supply problem continues to get greater.
According to the President, the creation of the Water Resource Management Office is necessary to form a more cohesive policy among agencies managing the water supply. The Chief Executive first announced the creation of the Water Management Office in February.
There are many agencies that are involved in water supply and water management. And it has just evolved that way. But what we are going to try to do is to make it a more cohesive policy so that there is planning at a national level, and in that way we can maximize the management of what water we have.
A magnitude 5.6 earthquake struck the Lupiri Island, Cagayan on Thursday morning. The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology says the tectonic earthquake was detected 18 kilometers northwest of the Lupiri Island at 7:31 a.m. with a depth of 22 kilometers. Intensity 5 was felt in Calayan, Cagayan, while Intensity 4 was reported in Bangi, Burgos, and Pagudpud in Ilocos Norte, and Claveria and Santa Pracedes in Cagayan. Intensity 3 was recorded in Luna in Apayao, Adams, Bacara, Dumalneg, Pasukin, and San Nicolas in Ilocos Norte, and Abulog, Apari, Pamplona, Peña Blanca, and Sanchez Mira in Cagayan. Fault intensity is the ground shaking actually felt and reported by the people through the FIVOX earthquake intensity scale. The Supreme Court announces that the oath-taking and roll signing of 2022 bar passers will be on May 2, 2023 at the Philippine International Convention Center. The Supreme Court says the notices are posted ahead of the release of the results of the 2022 bar examinations to give the prospective passers ample time to prepare for the oath-taking and the roll signing. A total of 9,821 took the 2022 bar examination conducted at 14 testing centers all around the country, while 9,183 completed the 4-day examination that ended last November. The Supreme Court has yet to release the result of the exam. Alamin naman natin ang mainit na balita sa mundo ng showbiz kasama si Irvin Santiago ng Bandera. Irvin?
Hi Neil at sa lahat mga kabandera natin all over the universe. Ito na ang latest bandera chika. Inamin ng hang actor na si Marco Gumabaw na espesyal sa kanya ang award-winning actress na si Christine Reyes. Pero hindi pa rin niya nabanggit kung in a relationship na ang kanilang status. Ayon kay Marco, matagal na silang close ni Christine at nag-enjoy sila pareho sa company ng isa't isa. At kung mapunta man sa next level ang kanilang samahan, ay hindi naman nila ito itatago sa publiko. Walang nakikitang post ang mga netizens sa mga social media accounts ng rumored couple. Kaya naman hanggang ngayon ay abangers pa rin ang mga fans kung kailan ilalantad ni na Christine at Marco ang kanilang tunay na relasyon. Sabi naman ni Marco, hindi raw siya yung tipo ng lalaking palaging nagpo-post sa social media about his love life o anumang tungkol sa personal niyang buhay. Hindi naman daw ibig sabihin na kung wala siyang ibinabandera sa SOCMED ay hindi na siya masaya o kontento sa kanyang personal life.
Because I'm not the type who yung magpo-post regarding my love life. Ako, hindi naman, ako po, I'm an actor, hindi naman po ako siguro nasa love team para i-share lahat ng mga nangyayari sa personal life ko. No? So, ako, as much as possible, I like keeping it on the down low. I like keeping it private. Pag lumabas, ito lumabas. But kung hindi siya namalabas, and then, hindi naman ako yung magsasalita. Ako kasi parang, you don't have to show the people like what's happening behind doors. Kumbaga, if you're happy, you can be happy without posting it. You can be happy without bragging about it on social media. As long as you know for yourself na you love a person and genuine yung pagmamahal ng dalawa sa isa't isa, and you don't need to prove it to other people by posting it on social media, then I think that's perfect. As long as the both of you understand each other na hindi based on social media or posting on social media, hindi doon tumatakbo yung relationship.
At yan ang bandera chika natin today. Thanks, Neil.
Maraming salamat, Irvin, and these are the stories you need to know today. I'm Neil Mercado. Catch Inquirer Today live weekdays at 6 p.m. Follow INQUIRER.net on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Reddit. For more stories, visit INQUIRER.net. Good evening.